morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Monday, May 25th, and we are here gathered, as we always gather every morning at 10:30 live on Facebook to go over headlines and stories that relate to our life here in Puerto Vallarta as English-speaking residents. We do this every morning, and we collect important headlines and news items that we can then share with everybody on the show notes after the show is over. If you're new to this space, my name is Paco Ojeda, and I am your host. Please let us know that you're new to this space by typing the word new in your comments so that we can give you an appropriate welcome. Speaking of appropriate welcome, let me take a quick look. Good morning, Sue, Claudette, Rita, Christy, Sly, David, Kathleen, Terry, March, Bob Davila, Michal, and Luis Anderson. Good morning, everyone. It's always great to see you. After a really fun day yesterday, we go back to some news and headlines. And of course, this week we begin our coverage of the new normal. Our countdown to the new normal begins. This is the new normal, and it is referred to as such by our government, La Nueva Normalidad. Last night, I watched López-Gatell's press conference, and indeed, what is going to happen all through this week is the federal government is going to start releasing guidelines and procedures as to what is life going to be like starting on June 1st. Of course, we will take a good eye, we'll keep an eye on those, because at the same time, we know that our own Governor Enrique Alfaro, the governor of Jalisco, has been coming up with guidelines for the state that sometimes match the federal guidelines, sometimes they don't. But here are some important things to keep in mind before we dive into the news. As we move into what is known as La Nueva Normalidad, this does not mean it's over. The virus is still here. It's not going to magically disappear. What this means is that starting on June 1st, the guidelines will begin to evolve and change according to what our government has deemed appropriate, balancing the importance of keeping track of the science and the medicine against the importance of keeping our economy alive. So the decisions that our government will take may not be the same as they're taking in Spain or Italy or France or the US. These are the guidelines that are being released for us. And this is where we live. So this is a time in which we begin exercising a little bit more of our own common sense. We continue to find our place in this balance. There may be things that we feel comfortable doing, others that we feel comfortable doing, and it becomes a personal expectation. Something else to keep in mind, starting on June 1st, the guidelines that are emitted by the federal government will not apply to the entire country. Guidelines will vary from location to location according to where each state, each city, each municipality in the country is as far as the advance of the pandemic is concerned. So, needless to say, we will keep close track of this. I will be watching López-Gatell every day to make sure that I bring you up-to-date information from the federal government. And at the same time, we continue to pay close attention to the guidelines distributed by our own state, which again may or may not relate to what is going on at a federal level. It'll be an interesting time, but I'm sure that if we write it together, we will all move forward together as a community. So let's jump into some headlines before we move forward with the rest of the show. For starters, it's good to see that things look good in our state to move forward, to get out of what our state has called phase zero. In order to keep track of whether we are in the right place to do that, I'm going to share some graphs that were published today on the paper. Let me get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. First of all, it is good to see that up till now, there have been 33,356 businesses that have register themselves in this system to abide by the protocols that have been established by the government. And of all of those businesses, as of yesterday, 19,260 businesses throughout the state have received the proper green light or authorization to move forward and open on June 1st or whenever phase 0 is over. Phase 0 was announced shortly after. It was announced like on the 16th of the month, and our governor said that it would last at least 2 weeks. So we're hoping that this is going to be over on June 1st. But it is important and it is good to see that many businesses are complying with the guidelines and are going through the process of reopening, no matter how complicated or troublesome it may seem. Again, it's part of the new normal. We also learned that the government has been tracking our mobility. Are we staying home? Are we going out? And what the scientific and economic committees determined for the state of Jalisco that would be appropriate is that as long as less than 70% of people were going out and about, our state is going to be fine moving forward to reopen. And we have been at 63%. So clearly, many of us or some of us have been itching to continue with our activities and go out and about. And hopefully we will continue to be a little bit patient through this week so that we can keep our numbers in check. Another important graph from this article has to do with the capacity of our hospitals. It's nice to see that due to all the precautions that we've taken throughout the whole campaign of safe distance, our hospitals throughout the state are at a 12.1% capacity. So there is plenty to be happy of as far as that is concerned, because we're keeping things in check, at least as far as what is being reported by the governor's office. As we reported through the weekend, today, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, the Malecón reopened partially to allow restaurants and drugstores and banks that are facing the Malecón to be able to reopen. And it is hoped that a little bit more activity will resume in this part of town. Again, this is not, as I understand it, a leisurely opening of the Malecón. This is only for people to be able to access businesses that are facing the Malecón, because these businesses were caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they had the authority to open, and yet due to their location at the Malecón, they were not able to do so. So that's good news for everyone. At the same time, you may or may not be aware of the fact that May 31st is an important date for Puerto Vallarta. It is the date in which our city celebrates its anniversary, both as a municipality and as a city. This year, Puerto Vallarta would celebrate its 102nd anniversary as a municipality and its 52nd anniversary as a city. Usually the city plans a whole series of cultural and festivities, and unfortunately this is not going to happen this year. There has been some information from the local Department of Culture that we will have a virtual celebration, but clearly it's not going to be what we are used to and what we have enjoyed in years past. We did get a nice nod a few days ago from Travel+Leisure magazine reporting that Puerto Vallarta is slowly starting to reopen with hopes of welcoming tourists back. And of course, there are no hard facts in this article because nobody knows exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. But at least it's comforting to know that an important publication such as Travel+Leisure is sending out signals to the minds and hearts of potential tourists to come back to our city at some point in the near future when the time is right or feels right for them. But we're ready for you. Tourists, we're ready for you to come back. I get this article also from Mural talking about the confusion in some municipalities due to the coronavirus. As we know, the federal government has determined that certain municipalities, due to the low numbers of coronavirus, they are considered as municipalities of hope. They're able to open. However, the state of Jalisco disregarded that guideline, even though there are some municipalities in Jalisco that are considered municipalities of hope. So there's a little bit of confusion as far as to whether they should open or they should not open. The state guideline says you're not able to open because we're treating all the municipalities the same. The federal guideline says otherwise, so it's a matter of wait and see. I also discovered this morning that Hugo López-Gatell, who's wearing a fine new haircut, by the way, has been invited by the World Health Organization to become part of this international committee of scientists that determine international health-related guidelines. And this is a huge prestige for Mexico, and it'll be interesting to see how his participation continues to nurture the guidelines and the procedures that the World Health Organization is producing for our world. And as long as we're here, let me pause before we get into the leisurely stuff to check your comments, reactions, and questions. Let me take a quick look. Everybody says good morning, and I say good morning back to everybody. Baileys and liquor. I love that combination. If it has to do with coffee, it's awesome. Anecdotal, quick anecdotal. There is a coffee shop in the main plaza at San Sebastián del Oeste. It's on the second floor. If you've been there, you know it. You have to go through these steep little stairways to get up there. And you sit up there early in the morning and you have a gorgeous look of the entire plaza. And the beautiful thing, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, is that it's maybe 8:30 in the morning, but you can get your coffee with Baileys there. So whenever I think about coffee and Baileys, I cannot think of a better place and to enjoy it than a chilly morning in San Sebastián del Oeste, just 1 hour and a half away from Puerto Vallarta. Hopefully we will all be able to go back there soon and enjoy that and boost their economy as well. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I see Hotel Mercurio is one, which leads me to believe that Hotel Mercurio has completed their guidelines. I do happen to know that Hotel Mercurio will be reopening their bar and restaurant area starting tomorrow. And this means that if you want to have a light bite at Hotel Mercurio, of course, following safe distance guidelines, you'll be able to do that. And if you want to have a cocktail, you're going to have to order something to eat, but you'll be able to do that as well. Beers, boys, and burgers? I don't think so. Not anytime soon, Gail. I've been having conversations with Paul. This may happen eventually and hopefully soon, but probably not quite yet. And I see that Paul has answered that same commentary. Does the number of people out and about staying include Americans and Canadians who don't have Mexican cell phones? I don't know, Barbara. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Because actually the organizations that track this is Google and other organizations. So if you're accessing Google, or if Google is accessing your location through your phone, I don't think it matters to Google whether you are on a Mexican plan or an Italian plan or a Canadian plan. So I would think that it makes no difference. I'm ready when the government of Mexico says I can. I am ready when the government of Mexico says I can, but at the same time, we all have our own comfort levels. And I think as we move forward, it'll be important to have a nice conversation with in Spanish we say have a pillow talk, and determine what is right for each one of us before we go out and certainly before we start commenting on what other people are doing. Thank you for the thank you. And this is all that I see so far. So with that in mind, let me move on to some fun stuff. Okay, I'm getting these little jingles down, and that makes me very happy. Actually, this is not fun, but it is leisure, or maybe it is borderline. But you should know that 2020 will probably be remembered as the year in which the curtains remain closed. This interesting article from the New York Times tells us how pretty much most producers of major performance events have given up on the year. And that is just sad, but it is the way it is. It is unfortunate. The article talks about superstars like Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber have canceled their performances. Further on, it talks about theater companies. It talks about what's going on at Lincoln Center in New York. Needless to say, everything that is going on has had a huge impact on what we're doing. And I don't understand where. Oh, there I am. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disappear on you guys. So this is something that is worth reading, and it's worth keeping in mind, because as performers that we know from near and far continue to try to make a living, we should try to be mindful of them as much as we can. It was also interesting to see that Yalitza Aparicio wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times. For those of you who don't know who she is a woman that was unknown to the world, who became the unsuspecting star of a major film called Roma, directed by Mexican film director Alfonso Cuaron. And the film did very well in the international circuit. The film gathered a bunch of awards. And of course, Yalitza Aparicio, who, as I understand, was a regular school teacher, she didn't even have acting experience, all of a sudden was appearing in the covers of important magazines such as Vogue and so forth and so on. And of course, there were those people that criticized the fact that how could somebody that looked so indigenous or perhaps so normal would all of a sudden receive all the attention. And of course, that was just that was the reaction of the haters. For the rest of us, it was just wonderful that a beautiful woman with very Mexican traits, I don't know what the word is, with a very Mexican appearance, was able to just shine and become successful at what she's doing now, just from her own ability to be able to do it. And of course, now she is defending the workers and lower classes and so forth and so on. So I will share with you the URL of the opinion piece that she wrote for the New York Times. Going back to the whole issue of how the performing arts and cultural scene is doing, we are saddened to learn that in the state of Jalisco, a budget of 99 million pesos has been taken away from Jalisco's Secretary of Culture, and it is going to be reassigned to handle the pandemic crisis. And this is very unfortunate because it means that a lot of culture-related initiatives, budget for theater companies, dance companies, and so forth and so on in our state, it's going to be eliminated. And this will have a very sad and adverse impact in all these programs throughout the state. Selfishly, though, I am happy to see and I'm happy to learn that the budget for the Jalisco Philharmonic will not be touched. The Jalisco Philharmonic will continue forward with their programs. Of course, it is impossible to say at this time when they will actually start giving concerts in Teatro Degollado in Guadalajara. These are concerts that I enjoy very much, and I know a few of you enjoy very much as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on how this unfolds. I also found this beautiful article on El Heraldo de Mexico. There is an artist slash anthropologist has recreated Teotihuacán, the pyramids right outside of Mexico City, digitally, and shows them in the way in which they may have appeared when they were built. And the images are quite gorgeous. I'm going to leave you with a link to the article so that you can enjoy these images on your own. I'm particularly fond of this one that shows you how some of the temples might have been decorated in the inside. From the look of it, that might be looking from the Pyramid of the Sun towards the Pyramid of the Moon, as they are known. If you have not had a chance to visit Teotihuacan, I certainly hope you will consider adding this to your bucket list at some point. I also want to introduce you a new personal hero of mine. Her name is Catherine Moore Porter. She's an American law professor, attorney, and politician, serving as the U.S. Representative for California's 45th Congressional District since 2019. This woman is a no bullshit representative, and I have seen this amazing video in which we see how she reacts to reporters and to situations. And what can I say? I'm a sucker for a woman in leadership, and I always thrive on watching this. And if that makes me sexist, please forgive me. But whenever I see a woman rise in places that are usually governed by men, I am extremely pleased to see. So I'm going to leave you the link to this video, which is called Representative Katie Porter Doesn't Have Time for Your Bullshit. And she will say so. It is absolutely beautiful. And the last headline that I have for you is a little geeky, and it's a little me, and I won't talk about this anymore if you don't want me to. But there's a space launch this week, and ever since I was a kid, I've followed the space program, and I've always been rejoiced to see what is going on. I don't know that it's useful or useless, and that there's all kinds of considerations that we can talk about budget and how the money is being spent. But there's going to be a joint effort launch this week between NASA and SpaceX. I'm going to be following this because it's my thing. If you're curious about this, just write the word NASA in your comments, and I will surely share more information about this with you as the launch approaches. The launch is going to be on Wednesday. I can do some research and let you know what this is going to be all about so that we can get happy about the space program together. Let me take a quick look again at your comments. Let's see. Gail says, at 69, I'm staying home. Everyone else free to enjoy yourselves. Bravo. Bravo for you. Dana tells us, I was at Boca yesterday at beach eating. How come some is closed and others are open? My suspicion, Dana, is that not everybody can open. Not everybody wants to open. We have to remember that this pandemic is hitting a lot of businesses very, very hard, and some businesses may be able to open, others may not be able to come back, and that is part of the situation. I am glad to hear that you were at Boca yesterday. I am sure that you were staying safe in terms of yourself and others, and I'm very happy to hear that you were out there enjoying yourself. I certainly hope you had a chance to bury your feet in the sand. I miss that myself. This is true. Everybody should watch the film. I think it is still available on Netflix, not entirely certain. More praise for Roma. They're practicing social. I don't understand why Marina has been open this entire time. And I also learned that Las Animas is also open. There are people. I don't know what to tell you, Dana. Dana, I'm sorry if I mess up your name. The guideline is that restaurants can open. It's interesting because, when you go to Las Animas, the boats that are supposed to allow you to get there are not allowed to operate, and yet restaurants are allowed to open. So perhaps what's going on at Las Animas is similar to what is going on at El Malecón. It's one type of guideline contradicting another. What we do know for a fact is that the state, Puerto Vallarta, our state, the country for that matter, are not officially open for tourism yet or for tourism-related activities. So if you were out and about and you got there by panga, good for you. And maybe that helps explain why some things are open and some things are not. Let's see. Lots of great comments for Yalitza Aparicio, excellent. I see a NASA comment. I see another NASA comment. Yay! There are geeks among us. Awesome. Suzanne Kirkpatrick is sending her love. Suzanne is a dear friend of mine. She's also involved with the Puerto Vallarta Garden Club, and she's a fellow concert goer. So I love exchanging links with her about upcoming interesting performances in Guadalajara. Let's hope that we'll be able to enjoy some of those in the future. Louise Anderson asks, when can we go to the beaches? Much safer than sitting in a restaurant. I agree with you, Louise. And this is probably part of the guidelines that we will start hearing about starting on June 1st. Again, it's still not officially open. I know people have gotten into trouble by walking the beach. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it's a matter of being patient. Personally, I look forward to days in which I can walk out and about, do fitness walks, and if there are no people around me, I can even remove my face mask, but I don't know when that will be possible. We know that face masks continue to be mandatory here, and wearing your face mask is probably the easiest act of kindness we can execute for others. Plain and simple. And hopefully, as this week unfolds, Luis, we will be able to get a clearer picture of what things will look like in the new normal, la nueva normalidad. Learn that phrase because we will be using it quite a bit. Paul agrees with Luis, and I think we're all on the same page. Maybe we will all become a whole new generation of fitness walkers. I don't know what's going to happen. What I know is that this is pretty much what I have ready for us today, and hopefully, as we continue with this week, we will continue to have clarity. I don't even call it good news or bad news, just clarity. Clarity as to what we can do, clarity as to what the government expects us to do, and probably, again, the most important piece of clarity I can think of is the one that we create for ourselves. It is up to us to remain informed about what's going on. It's up to us to create guidelines for ourselves and those around us. And it's up to us to be kind and loving to those around us as they create the guidelines that feel right for themselves. With that thought in mind, I want to wish you an awesome week. I want to remind you that tomorrow we're going to be joined by Zoe Lewis. Her visit to Coffee and Headlines coincides with the birthday of famous singer Peggy Lee. We know her because she gives us fever many, many times. So we're hoping for a fun program, but of course we will continue to relate news with you. As always, I'm grateful for your sticking around and spending time with us every morning. I'm so grateful for your sharing news about this broadcast with others. And as always, I'm going to cue the little house and I'm going to wish you a wonderful week. I'll see you tomorrow or soon, I hope. Have a great day.